Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over all of the new orbs added in version 6.7 of Gems of War, as well as briefly recapping the older orbs for anyone that might be new, as one of the biggest changes in version 6.7 is the drop rates to these orbs, as well as some very powerful new orbs being added to the game. So let's go over now to the actual drop rates. The drop rates have basically been updated to reduce the older orbs by roughly 5% or so, in order to make room for all of the newer orbs. So Orb of Wisdom, the orange one, is down to 30%, the 25% for the Orb of Growth, which is the green one, 15% for the Orb of Clans, which is the purple one, 10% chance for the Orb of Ascension, which of course is the blue one, and then we start getting into the newer category, where we have a 10% to get the Ingot, the 5% to get the Lesser Orb of Glory, which is basically the bronze metal one, which we'll be getting to in a moment, 3% chance of getting the Orb of Forging, and a 2% chance to get an Orb of Minions. The major orbs have taken a pretty similar cut, though they also have slightly different ratios for a couple of them. So 30% for Wisdom, 24% for Growth, 20% chance for Clans, 10% for Major Orb of Ascension, 6% for Major Orb of Ingots, 3% chance for Major Orb of Forging, 3% chance for Major Orb of Glory, 2% chance for Major Orb of Glory. Sorry, Standard Orb of Glory was 3%, Major is 2%. And then a 1% for the Major Orb of Minions, and of course 1% for the old Orb of Power. So let's go now and show off all the older orbs real quick, or just mention what they do, and then go use all of the newer ones and show them firsthand what they actually do. So first things first, Orb of Growths. What do these do? They basically just level up a troop. The way that you use them is a smaller green you want to use for the last few levels of a troop, like the 19th and 20th level, possibly even the 18th. This just saves you a little bit of extra souls. And the major Orb of Growths you pretty much use exclusively on Mythics. Maybe if you have truly a lot of them, you could use them occasionally on Legends. And it just saves you several thousand souls every single time you get one of those troops. Orb of Ascension is used in a couple different ways. The smaller ones are used for a lot of things, most notably for getting legends to Mythic. So if you get one copy of a specific legend and you want to end up getting it to Mythic, boom, you could just end up doing that and it ends up getting there. You can do it on some faction troops as well, twice, so you don't have to end up using as many shards. One other thing that you can actually use them for earlier on in the game is all of the Guardian troops that are in the Seal Keys. They will actually stop dropping once you have 4 copies of them at Mythic. And one thing you can actually do is get all of them to Legendary, and then simply go use a blue orb on all of them and get them to Mythic and be good to go. You basically do it for the final section of Ascension, ideally from Legendary to Mythic, on every single one of your troops, or any of them that are deemed viable. As far as the major Orb of Ascension, this is mostly used on things that are so far away to be able to go and max out, that it would take too far to do it otherwise. These includes things like, for example, all of the gnome troops, which you don't get that frequently, so once you end up getting one copy of it, you can simply just use a major Orb of Ascension and end up getting it all maxed. Oddly enough, you tend to use the smaller blues a lot more than the major blues, and major blues you tend to save for creating power orbs so you can craft things like Zolgoth, which we'll get to in a moment once we get down to power orbs. As far as orange orbs, these are for trait stones, and you can simply use them very quickly to get the final traits of a troop. Most notably, the smaller orange orb would be used on a last trait on Mythics and Legendaries, or last 2 traits on Mythics and Legendaries, whereas the major Orb of Wisdom is used pretty much exclusively on Mythics, unless you use them ever so occasionally on a Legend. Similar to many things, you actually get a higher value from it if you end up using it on a higher rarity thing. And this is applicable to almost every single orb in the game, including the orange ones. As far as the purple ones, these you can actually use at any time you want. I just happen to have not popped any of mine. However, these will end up giving you seals, which ends up resulting in being able to give you guild keys. Guild keys, you basically want to wait until your guild has 40,000 or more guild points. You can actually check this by going into guild. Guild again, clicking over to seals, and check to see if this number is 40,000 yet for the week. If it is, you will have the maximum drop table, and it'll basically be, if you don't have all of the guild troops maxed yet, you'll end up getting half of the drops as those guild troops, and then the other half basically as gem keys. And once you do have all of those max, you'll basically get the equivalent of a gem key drop table for the most part. It is slightly off, but it's essentially a gem key drop table for every single seal key that you end up opening. having just ultra rares, epics, legendaries, and a slightly heightened rate for mythics by like a 0.1% or something. So they can be used primarily for getting mythics within the game. Whenever a new mythic comes out on that Friday week, you end up going and using a bunch of your seal keys. Just make sure that your guild has gotten to 40,000, and if you haven't, you can contribute 2,000 yourself, plus orbs can count towards that contribution, so you could throw down a bunch of your orbs and cover that gap if your guild already isn't at that 40,000 milestone in order to be able to get to the highest value for that. And that's pretty much all they're used for. To hit that 40,000 mark, then to open them basically like gem keys in a sense. That is their primary purpose. So let's go now to the Power Orb, the last of the older orbs. So as far as what a Power Orb ends up doing, a Power Orb will end up mostly being used to craft Zul'Goth. So it actually upgrades all the traits, all the level, and all of the Ascension on any troop you use it on. However, you will never use it for that purpose. The main purpose of actually using a Power Orb is to go over to Soulforge, go over to your troops, and to go craft one of two things, Zul'Goth and Enraged Karendar, specifically in that order. So you want to end up getting your Zul'Goth is the first thing you ever spend Power Orbs on, is among one of the strongest troops in the entire game, being able to kill and generally picking up a second kill while also freezing them so they can't do anything, while also burning them so you can do triple damage burning, while also having Impervious so you'll be able to have immunity to most effects. So this is ridiculously strong and used for a lot of farming teams, and in the current state of the game used quite often, so I highly advise getting this as 100% your first priority for your first 8 Power Orbs. You can end up crafting your other orbs into Power Orbs as well by converting them up. One of the other main purposes of blue orbs is that's actually the hardest thing to obtain as far as getting a Power Orb, is getting the 3 blues that you need per Power Orb, so you can end up doing it that way. However, don't craft Power Orbs just for the sake of it, as you should only be doing it to craft either Zul'Goth, Enraged Karendar, or if they had another troop that's like this. The other one is Enraged Karendar, the other thing that consumes Power Orbs. As far as what this does, it's mostly just a curse option, 40% chance to curse enemies when its turn begins. It has even better immunity traits, and is sometimes used for that in like Guild Wars and a few other gimmicky teams. Overall, definitely a much lower priority, especially with how high his mana cost is. While he does have a full AoE into a convert, it's just such a high mana cost that's clunky to use a lot of times. However, he is used on Guild War defend teams occasionally and could be of value, but it's definitely the second thing you should end up crafting out of your Power Orbs until we eventually have a third whenever that may come into the game. Anyways, that is now a recap on all of the older orbs. So let's start getting into these new ones, as well as using every single one of these. So, Orb of Forging. This is a new one that will now allow you to be able to not worry about the Tower of Doom events. So in the past, if you wanted Forge Scrolls, somewhere in all of this madness, there is a resource called Forge Scrolls. And these are super ridiculously annoying in the past to have obtained. Mostly because you can only end up obtaining them during their event. The events now take place once every 11 weeks instead of their normally balanced once every 4 weeks. So now it is ridiculously hard to get your hands on these, as you've probably noticed if you've ever tried upgrading like the Doom weapons that hit all enemies, or the books, which are the two main ones that you should prioritize doing first. However, since I already have them maxed, we will be showing it on a different category here. I unfortunately don't have the empowered one. All the drops that you see there for the newer orbs, we were actually able to get from 300 keys. However, I was not actually able to get any of the forging ones, so what I'm going to do is go to upgradable and see if we can just find ourselves the hammer. So here's Doomed Hammer. This is, I would say, probably the third category of best Doom weapon. It's one that is super situational, but one, now that it's a little bit more accessible to be able to upgrade these, could start seeing some use. So I currently have 2 of these, so we're kind of going to do similar to how you would use a green orb or an orange orb. So as we can see, we have 2 little categories over here. These 2 we don't want to touch, we want to save them for the latest ones. As with many things when upgrading, you'll gain the most amount of value from using it later on. Here we'll end up saving 10, here we'll end up saving 9, so on and so forth. So we don't want to use it on one of these first levels, of course, because well, we'll only save 1 scroll. So we don't want to do that. So what we'll end up doing here is going and clicking right here. This will use 36. And now we have 2 more left. And what do? Well, we just use a orb, boom. We use an orb, boom, and we just saved ourselves 19 Forge Scrolls. And it's as simple as that. That's all you have to do. And that's the Forge Scrolls. And now we have ourselves a max Doom weapon. And if you have the major one, it's even easier than that, except all you'd have to do is click on the one you want, and then boom, click the major Orb of Forging, which unfortunately I can't show here, but you get the premise. And we will be able to show that for all the other ones, though, as if we go down to the list once more, we can see the next one. So we just went over Forging, now we get to go over, unfortunately, the new useless one. So, of course, with how powerful these new ones are, which we haven't even gotten to the most powerful two, which we will in a moment, However, they had to put in at least one useless one, and that one useless one is Ingot. This one is maybe okay if you're like an absolute brand new player, but for most people, these are just going to do absolutely nothing. So let's go once again find ourselves some weapon examples. So these, of course, are to also upgrade weapons. However, they cannot upgrade the Doom weapons. What they are meant for is all the other weapons within the game. This is... Oh wait, do I not actually have another unupgraded weapon? Oh no! Wait, I don't... Oh gosh, I have so few unupgraded weapons that I actually can't show the major one. Well, I thought we had one. I guess I upgraded a little bit early because I don't want to upgrade these for a specific reason as to... They kind of get clunkier when they get upgraded. But anyways, let's go upgrade, I guess, Trick or Treat. This is the Halloween weapon from a little while back. So, of course, if you want it all the way max, similar to the other one, you can simply click a major Orb of Ingots, and then boom, you'll have it fully maxed. Alternatively, we could do the other method, where we go and max it almost all the way, and depending on how many you have, you can use it for the last 2 levels. Similar to how we did for Forging, where it saved us 19 of the material, this right here is also going to save us 19 of the material. So I'm going to use an Orb of Ingots again, boom. And of course, it could save you the full amount if you end up using a major Orb of Ingots. This is relatively useless for the main reason being that ingots are super absurdly easy to get over time. As a newer player, it might seem a little bit hard, but you get a lot of legendary and mythic ones from Underworld, and you eventually just from playing get enough that you're going to have reserves so high that you have no clue what to do with them. And this is unfortunate, as similar to the Trait Stone ones, the orange ones, most people are going to be in a situation like this, where they unfortunately get absolutely no value from the ingot one. But of course, they had to add at least one bad one to balance out these very 2 good ones now. So now are the 2 orbs that you absolutely want to find. They are really unfortunate drop rates as well, because if we go over to the minor one, these are like the 2 things you're looking whenever you open up an orb now. So if we go over to the minions, it is a 2% chance to get the minions off of a standard orb, and a 1% chance, basically the new power orb, though the power orb's still there, so 2 separate 1%, but you know, a 1% chance to get a major Orb of Minions. So I'm going to go show this now onto the 2 pets that can actually end up utilizing this. There are 2 pets on PC Mobile that have actually not been maxable prior to today, so we'll also be able to show that real quick. So let's see if I can even find them, because I don't remember their names, so we'll find them manually. Of course, as far as the smaller ones, you could end up doing that to go upgrade the final level. For example, we have a Barkley here. This is a guy that is a stat-related one. So if I wanted to, I could use the smaller one. However, the main use for the smaller ones, I would actually say, are cosmetic pets. The main reason for this is cosmetic pets that only had like a few events that might not be having one or never had one. For example, here is the 15th anniversary 505 games pet. They mailed out one at the 15th anniversary of this for anyone who was on around the time during that week, and it has never returned again, nor has it ever had a pet event, meaning prior to today, this pet has never been maxable. However, there is a very simple way to do that. If we just click on a major Orb of Minions, which is a 1% drop rate on the major orbs, we now have a maxed out balloons. This is a pet prior to today, or I should say prior to yesterday when we got the patch, has never been maxable before, but now you can. So I would say the main purpose of these new pet orbs is to max all the old holiday pets that are pretty much previously unmaxable, unless you already maxed them with gems around the time, or quite literally unmaxable. The one I just upgraded is impossible to have had maxed, and there is one other one, the Revered Kitty. So this one you can actually still get, unlike the balloons, which if you missed out on it, who knows on earth it's going to come back, if ever. However, one that you can end up getting at any point, don't keep in mind, these are cosmetic, so you're not really getting anything for it. However, if you're going like full-blown completionist, you know, you can kind of do it for them. Of course, you could be using these on pets that actually have like really good bonuses. However, most completionists will probably use it on the cosmetic ones. Keep in mind, cosmetic ones can also apply to kingdom upgrades. So if you need another level 20 pet for like 3 or 4 of them in a given kingdom, you can also use it for that purpose. But Revered Kitty, this you get from getting max rank in global chat. Well, I say global chat, you can get it through a couple means. However, generally you accumulate it through global chat just by kind of chatting, and some people give you upvotes occasionally. You can also set it by setting a really good defend team. One of those is setting that new gnome that just came out, the Dragon Knight gnome. If you find 1 or 2 of those set on your defend team, and some people might give you an upvote. But anyways, we'll use the other one on this one, as this previously you've never been able to max. When you end up getting it, you only end up getting 1 singular copy, and of course 1 singular copy is not enough to max it. But a major Orb of Pets combined with 1 singular copy is enough to now have yourself a max Revered Kitty. And you can get that anytime. It's specifically from this little rating thing, the revered thing. And you basically get more upvotes whenever you're just in chat or, other things like that. You can also ask your guild for it, and you'll, like, slowly accumulate it over time. You do it on the profile page. If you go to someone's profile, you can click on... Actually, I might find someone else's profile. Wait. Let me just go find a random profile real quick. How about this one? So, for example, you can just click helpful, boom, and that gives them one of them towards their rank. They're already max rank, so it doesn't really matter, but you can just give it to people that aren't. Like, for example, gosh, everyone in global chat's max rank. Like, here's a newer player. Here we go. Let's go help him. But basically, he's at, like, the lowest run right now, and you just gain it slowly over time, and eventually you'll end up becoming revered. Anyways, that one's not too important, but it's, it's a little kitty that you get from it. Anyways, but yeah, that's how those orbs work. You could use it for useful ones, so I'm pretty sure most people will use it for the old cosmetic ones if you're going for completionist sake, or you could just use it for whatever pet you just like the most. If there's a really strong bonus and you just want it max and you only have like a few copies of it, you can throw down the orbs on it and just max it out. Now we come to what is probably the most broken one out of all of these. So this one is good from a completionist standpoint. However, this one is good from a everything standpoint. These are basically what niches look like now. These are very, very absurdly good. They have one main purpose, and it is for upgrading mythics. These are basically the equivalents of Nisha medals. This is 1 Nisha medal, this is 2 Nisha medals, and this is 3 Nisha medals. What do I mean by this? These instantly give you the bronze, silver, and gold rank on any troop, and it does not care about rarity. So if I go to, let's say, Scourge of Honor, this is one I was considering upgrading. I will have a future video, not today, but some point this week, hopefully tomorrow, going over the best things, or an updated video I covered in the past. If I remember, I'll try to link it to this video here too, but I'll get the updated video on the best things to ascend. So normally, if we wanted to go ascend this guy, Scourge of Honor, we would have to go over to the elite level, and since he is a mythic, I would have to go spend 1 Nisha or 3 Anus. Then on the second level, I would have to go 2 Nishas, and then on the final level, I would have to go 3 Nishas. Well, guess what you could do now? Orb of Glory for the bronze level, and he gets his stats. Orb of Glory for the silver level, and he gets his stats. Orb of Major Glory for the very last gold elite level, and he gets his stats. And what do we have now? A gold medaled mythic. But yeah, it's that easy now. Obviously, accumulating them, not the highest of drop rates, however, higher than you would expect. The very low one, which is basically the equivalence of a single Nisha, is a 5% chance. That is decently high. 5% chance every time you open a small orb, 1 in 20 chance, approximately, that you will end up getting a Nisha medal, basically, essentially. Or 3 Anus, or however you want to look at it. Then, to get the silver one, it's a 3% chance off of a major to get the silver, which is basically 2 Nishas. And for the very last level, unfortunately, pretty low drop rate, but you kind of expect it. So I'm surprised this one isn't the 1% one. But a 2% chance that you get a major Orb of Glory, which is essentially the equivalent of 3 Nishas. You should never, ever, ever, ever use these on anything that isn't a mythic. You should only use it on mythics that you really want to upgrade, things that have magic bonus, things that you're using a lot, that might not have the best bonus, but because you're using it so much, you're going to get enough value from it. Or if you really want to, just upgrading something that would look cool if you have a little gold icon next to it, as it does give that little bit of cosmetic icon. However, you're mostly doing it for the stats on useful mythics that you'd want to go and upgrade. And yeah, it's as easy as that. You just go and maybe do it on your Phoenicia if you've been meaning to get that. While it's not as good a value, maybe do it on Zul'Goth because you use it so often that you feel like you might want to have the extra damage. Generally, anything that gains magic is one of your best bets, but you can use it on pretty much anything you want if you feel like you're using it enough to justify the upgrade. And all these that we got during this video, I got within 300 keys. While we might have gotten on the slightly luckier side, this is very doable by just farming a vault event. 300 vault keys is very easy to do within a single vault event. Some people go and make it their minimum to do 1,000. I normally aim for a couple hundred. However, that was just from 300 keys. I think maybe technically 304, but it was basically 300 keys is what we got all these orbs from. So it is very, very, very doable. The next vault event will be taking place on January 13th if you're watching this video now. So unless they're doing a special one for the holidays, that'll be the next one rotating around that you'll be able to go and farm. And basically that'll give you a bunch of vault keys. And once you get those vault keys, you can then open them for loot. And that loot will then give you orbs. And of course, those orbs will give you the chances of the new orbs based on the drop rates that are over here. So you can end up doing it based on that and eventually getting all these orbs and using them as you see fit. But anyways, guys, that will wrap it up for now. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave in the comment section below. I will have another separate video going up soon, kind of on how to optimally use the metal upgrades. We've covered this in the past, though this definitely seems like a time we might want to have an updated one. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Feel free to leave a like on the video as it helps out a lot and is greatly appreciated. I'll catch you guys later. Best of luck in hunting all of the new and old orbs. Goodbye, everyone, and thanks for watching.